All right. Hope you guys had a good break. Welcome back, everyone. We're going to get started with today's lessons. Okay, so I had a bit of thought about what we would have to do to continue from yesterday. Yesterday, we left off with a lecture at 3:30 about joining tables. And while it's not ordinary for me to push a lecture that far back, I had no way around it, and I ran out of time to go over the last bit of information that we needed to finish our lecture about join tables. Okay, so we're going to pick up from where we left off yesterday, and it's actually a good thing because I was leaving you guys off with a lot of information had I even done it correctly. Okay, and what we had learned yesterday was enough for then. I remember as a student, this topic, actually, I had to go to my instructor and get some clarification because of, um, a little bit of complexity that goes into doing something seemingly simple, right? So I'm going to go ahead and explain what I mean. Yesterday, we went over join tables, correct? And we talked about the difference between a join and a left join. Do you guys recall that? The join and a left join. What does a join do? So I know you guys are with me. What does a join do? It joins tables, right? All of our data in a table is organized in columns and rows. And we have more than one table in the schema that we had created. If you can recall, I'm going to go ahead and scroll over there. Here, 1 second. If you can recall, when we created our schema, we were following the platform's direction here. Okay, so I'm going to scroll over and go to queries. I'm going to say left join, and we were following this model. I had created a schema that mimicked this model here. Now, there's one thing that I was missing when I had created my schema yesterday that was critical for our understanding of how this works. And so I'm going to have to do some rewinding from yesterday, because if you can recall yesterday, what had happened was while Tyler was drawing on the screen, my MySQL crashed and I had not saved my ERD. My ERD was the model on which I had created my database and ran queries, and I needed to make an edit to my ERD. So there was a handful of things I was trying to do, and so let's go step by step, continuing on from yesterday. Okay, so we know what a join does. It connects two tables, right? And what does a left join do? And it wasn't Tyler's fault. It just happened to. If you go back and rewind, you see it was while Tyler was doing it. It's actually my fault. I deleted a table and then had recreated it, and for some reason the system didn't like that. And so it's a subtle thing going on there if you rewatch the video carefully. But it's not Tyler's fault. Anyways, what my question was, what is a left join compared to a join? What is the difference between a left join and a join so we know we're on the same page? Yes, James. Excellent answer. It lets you show at least one part of a join, even if it doesn't have corresponding values in the other side. So in our example yesterday, we had a table called addresses, right? Addresses, and then we also had some information for these. Had a key. It also had a foreign key, right? It had one of these orange thingies. So I'm going to put a foreign key sign there, and it was connected to our users. When we had a user that was in our database. We had joined our tables to a address table. When we did a left join, it connected all the tables that had users, even if they didn't have addresses. So it would show null values next to for addresses next to the users table. So it would show all the users. My left join would show all the users, whether they had an address or not. When we had just a regular join, in that case, it would only show the users that had addresses. So that's what we learned about the difference between a join and a left join. Okay. Now that that's cleared, I'm glad you guys are grasping that. Not that hard of a concept. But now we're going to want to join more than one table, right? We're going to want to join 3 tables at some point. And the reason we're going to want to join 3 tables is because there is an instance in which we want to ask a question like here. In this instance, we have favorites and we have tweets and we have users. And what we said is that one user can favorite many tweets, right? One user can favorite many tweets. And one tweet can be favorited by many users. So that relationship that they have, we're gonna identify it as a favorite relationship. So like a like or like a like on a social media post. You guys all know what that is. Now, the one thing I had missed in yesterday's presentation that I'll emphasize now is that one user can have many tweets. This is what this connection is to establish, a one-to-many. The many end is on this here. That's why we have that trifork here. All right. This is the many. So there's many tweets. There can be many tweets per one user. Right? It cannot be the other way around where there's many, users for one tweet, only one author per tweet, right? So there's a one-to-many relationship between users and tweets, but the relationship between users and tweets when it comes to favorites is a many-to-many relationship. One user can favorite many tweets, and one tweet can be favorited by many users. It just doesn't go around the other way around as far as authorship. One user can author a tweet, many tweets, in fact, but a tweet can only be authored by one person, right? So a tweet does not have a one-to-many going the other direction. All right, so before I do that, I just want to check in to see that you guys see that relationship. Do you see how there is a one-to-many relationship between tweets and users, right? So one user can have many tweets, and the relationship between users and tweets can be many-to-many. All right, let's take a quick poll because we need to understand this before we start doing queries. And I know we had some questions about this yesterday. Brooks, did that answer or did that clarify at all your question that you had yesterday about the one-to-many and many-to-many relationship? I know you were asking, I don't want to call you out if you don't.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, that was exactly, I was kind of wondering about that. It makes sense that there's like, it's like the connector, like favorites is like the many connector as opposed to, I was trying to find if there was like an actual many to many like connector, like a line, but there's no like straight many to many relationship in
Right.
this, correct?
Anytime you do that, yes, anytime you do a many-to-many connector, it would automatically create this in-between table. This in-between table is a result of a many-to-many line, as you can see here. When you create a many-to-many connection between users and tweets, this little mini table will already automatically pop up every time. So yes, you noticed that. Great job, Brooks.
Oh, so users and tweets, that is supposed to be a many to many. That's what you're saying.
There's two connections here. Yes. No. Okay. So here's where I want us to follow along. There's two connections between users and tweets. One user can author many tweets, right? This is about authorship. So one user can write many different tweets. All right. Is that so that's clear, right? Let's establish that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The difference between authorship and favoriting a tweet is that one user can author many tweets, but not many users can author many tweets, right? You can't have more than one person write a tweet, but you can have more than one person favorite a tweet, right? And that same single tweet being favorited by many persons, that's why we have a one-to-many going this way and one-to-many going that way. And when we, in this category, establish that it's about favorites, our this is why we have a many-to-many relationship here, is because we know that one tweet can be favorited by many users, and one user can favorite many tweets, which is different than authorship, which is where we were confused yesterday. Is it a little clear?
Yeah, it does make sense. I think once you like writing out the actual ERD and connecting the lines and seeing like those tables pop up, I think it'll make a little bit more sense. It's like when I'm just trying to figure out where the lines would have been written and when we would like put that many to many in. But yeah, it makes sense. It's like a connector type thing. So
yes. So yesterday when I was explaining that this was the hard part, where what I meant by hard part is figuring out the logic of your app. Imagine someone asks you, hey, I need you to build me a Twitter, like a really basic Twitter ERD, right? Then you have to figure out what the relationships are between different points of data. Like one will have users, a users table. That would be obvious, right? You have to log in to use it. And then you have tweets, which would have something else. So we want to differentiate that from the user. Okay. So has anyone not used Twitter or social media to not know what I'm referring to? I can use another analogy if we need it. Vincent, yeah. Okay. We have some users. Okay. Well, all right. That's fine. We're gonna have to figure out something else then. We'll find out another analogy. And there's plenty of here that we can use, all right? But in case you don't know, here's a website called Twitter. I think it got bought by someone else recently, right? So if we go to Twitter, let's just see how this works real quick before we go in. Oh, do I have to have an account? Oh, no, I'm not. All right.
Similar to Facebook posting, right?
Similar to Facebook. Anyone not have a Facebook or an Instagram or even an email? An email has favorites, right? Email's a little bit different because it's not social media. But anything that has favorites and likes that shows what you kind of posts you like, this is what it's referring to. Okay. I'll give a visual example of this if we need a visual example of a social media website. So let's continue. Where we left off yesterday was having to edit our ERD. We wanted to edit our ERD in order to establish this connection. This is something I had left out yesterday. This one-to-many regarding the authorship of tweets. Okay, so we're gonna say one-to-many regarding the authorship of tweets. And in order to do that, I'm gonna have to go through a couple steps because, like I said, my MySQL crashed and this didn't save. But what did save was my database. My database did save because if you can recall, I had forward engineered it. Okay, so this didn't actually delete. The database itself, which is what I had created here called Super Dojo Twitter, this didn't delete. I had not deleted that part. when I forward engineered from my schema, my ERD to my database schema, I had saved this, but I lost the blueprint. So the first thing I want to show us today is how to reverse engineer. Okay, so first thing, how to reverse engineer. And what does this do? It turns our schema, okay? It will convert schema back to ERD, which is our blueprint. Okay, so we're going to need to reverse our schema back to an ERD. Okay, so here's where we left off yesterday. This is where we were making queries. We double selected our Super Dojo Twitter. And we're going to have to go now reverse engineer this. And in order to do this, it's very similar to forward engineering it. We're going to have to go to database here at the top from the nav bar. And I'm going to say reverse engineer. This is going to pull up this window. All right, when I get to this window, I click continue. And then I enter my password, which you can save to your keychain. I just choose not to. All right, and then I click continue. Then I have to make sure that I have the right database selected. All right, Super Dojo Twitter, that's the one I'm working with. Select it, continue, 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 execute, continue. All right. And it'll give me back my schema. Now it's a little looking a little different than what I had arranged it like yesterday. So let me just do that for familiarity's sake. So we're gonna say we have our follows here, we have our tweets, we have our favorites, and we have our users. Okay. We said we had a one-to-many relationship between users and address. And to follows. What we're missing is the one-to-many relation. Well, we're missing a couple things here. The first thing we're missing is a one-to-many relationship as far as authorship between users and tweets. Okay, do you see this one-to-many relationship? Super key, super critical, but I had overlooked it. Okay. We're not going to forget it this time. And so now what I want to do is establish that one-to-many relationship between users and tweets that's going to establish authorship. One user for many tweets as an author. So I'm going to have that. I'm going to grab that one-to-many here. And you click the many first. This is like an anchor here. So you click it, tweets, click, users, click. There we go. It's connected. All right, so now we have a one-to-many relationship between users and tweets. And again, this is for author. Who's going to author the tweet? And again, this is for who's going to favorite the tweet. Now, there's a couple things that we would like to do in addition to this as well. All right, so before we move to the favorites table, I'm going to go into my tweets here, and I'm going to say, I want this to be singular user ID because it's going to represent the single user, single author for that tweet. I'm going to say move up, move up, move up. I like to have all my keys at the top here so they're easily visible. I'm not disorganized. So I have here my ID for the tweet that's created and the user ID of the author. Okay, so this is the author's user ID. Keep that in mind. All right, now now that we've finished that, we want to fix this here. There's a couple things we're missing in order to make this work for us. One, we need each favorite to have its own ID. So we need an ID. And then we also want to know every time someone favorites a tweet, we want to know what it's created at and updated at. Okay, so let's go ahead and take care of that now. I'm going to go into my favorites table. And I'm going to go ahead and create an ID. ID. Okay. Now I'm going to make this the primary key, and I'm going to make it auto increment. If you're doing this on a PC, that it might show slight difference in functionality. See here, I actually have to, I'm going to deselect all these and then reselect it. No, it's not going to let me set it. Okay. Oh, I see why. I want to switch this to an int and then auto increment. Then I'm going to move it to the top. And these here, we said they can't be, oh, well, they can be null. And I see, what did I unselect here? I think it was these here. No. What did I unselect just now? I think I lost track. All right, let's do this from scratch. How about this? I'm going to delete my favorites table, just so we get a grasp of a many-to-many here. Here we are, start from scratch, and I'm going to grab this many-to-many line between users and tweets. There we go. Okay, fresh table, good to go. Okay, so these two here, okay. Alrighty, so then let's go ahead and add the ID in again, ID. I'm going to change it to a num or int, auto increment, make it the primary key, move it to the top, and then remove primary key from these two. This is what I want. Okay. And we'll go ahead and continue by adding a created at and updated at, right? So created at, date time, updated at, date time, set the default expressions to now. And let me go ahead and make this easier for me to see here. Okay. And the last one here, the last change, I'm going to change the name of the table to faves. Okay. Now that I have this, this is what I want to see. Okay, I haven't created at, updated at. Let me just double check that everything's looking good on this table. Did I miss any steps? And I would appreciate if you guys see that I'm missing anything, feel free to call it out in the middle of me talking or not. Send it in the chat. Anyways, yep, looks like we're good. We have a date time, current timestamp. Everything looks good. We're good to go. Make foreign keys singular in faves. Ah, perfect. Thank you, Brooks. See, this is what I was asking for. Okay. We have the user ID and the tweet ID. All right. Anything else we could be possibly missing here? Let me just double check my... Here, do I have any other foreign keys that need to be made singular? No. They're all good. Date times are all good. So now that we have finished our table, I'm going to save this one here. I'm going to save it as, save model as, what did I call it? Super Dojo Twitter. Okay, now it's saved. So if it crashes again, I won't have to reverse engineer and do it again. Okay, now let's then forward engineer this again. Okay, so we reversed engineer it from our database schema. We got back to an ERD. We edited our ERD. Now that we've made the correct changes, we're going to forward engineer it again. So we go to database, forward engineer, continue, and I'm going to click this one. All right. This is just going to ensure that all my data is dropped yesterday. That all my data is dropped. Okay, before I create this afresh. If I don't do this, I'm gonna have problem. I'm gonna have many problems actually. So it's gonna say if I don't drop the data, then I'm inserting data into a table that was different than it was before. So it's not gonna and it's not gonna reflect the changes that we made actually. Okay, so we want to drop our data. And yesterday we had a question, I believe it was from Mixie. Mixie asked, what's the difference between drop and delete? And I said I would go back to research and answer that. The difference is delete will delete a single row in a table. Okay, delete is for deleting a single row and it needs a specification. A drop will drop all the data. Okay, so the difference between a delete and drop is that a drop will clean the data from the table. A delete is a specific one row in a table where you need a condition. This here doesn't need a condition. All right, so delete more, it removes from a table, drop clears from the table. Okay, that should answer that question. So then let's continue. And I'm going to say root. Mixie, does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. So now I'll go ahead and continue. Let's go ahead and build my schema again. And success. So, all right, let's continue now. Now that this has been created, we go back to our local instance. And in case you don't know how, we go to the local instance by clicking the dolphin and then click here. I go to my local instance and I refresh. So I want to make sure I have the most up-to-date information. Okay, so now that I have refreshed, this should be my updated database. I want to check my users table, and it should be empty. It should be open. What do I get? I get an empty users table. Here we are. So that's looking good. This is where I want to be. And just to check to see that everything else, I know it's redundant here. I want to just check the addresses table. I want to see what that looks like. That should be an empty table as well, right? Nothing. There should be no data in our on our new version of our database because all the data that we had seeded in there previously had been dropped. That's what the drop did when we forward engineered it. And again, we want that when we re-forward engineer a ERD because we were making changes. The most important thing is not the data that we would have seeded our database with, but that our structure for our database is complete and it's not lacking any details in the names of the columns or the connection between tables. That's what we need to be there, not the data. The data we can always refill, right? We have an endless amount of data we can put in there, right? We can put many users in there. All right, so this is what we're going to do now. We're going to put a user into our table. So let's go ahead and do that. But before I do that, let me take a poll. Do we understand how to reverse engineer a schema and then re-forward engineer after we've made some changes? Okay. The object of doing this is because we wanted to make some changes to our ERD model in order to run a correct query. That was a handful. All right, so what this means is we wanted to see all the tweets for one user, right? But we couldn't do that because we didn't have that one-to-many relationship for tweets. And we wanted to also see all the favorited tweets by either one specific user or all the users. We want to see all the favorited tweets as well. Okay, and so in order to do that, we're going to have to put some data into our database, because we can't make a query call unless we have data in there. Okay, so the first thing to do now is to insert data. So that we're going to seed data into our tables here. Okay, so which table am I going to have to seed first? Users, right? And why is it the users table that I need to seed first?
Just because everything's connected to the user, so you have to have a person to start off with.
Right. Think of it as the parent table, right? So in order to fill any of these other tables, they're going to need a foreign key to have that fulfillment. And in order for this foreign key to be valid, they're going to need a connection to where that foreign key came from. That foreign key comes from this, well, we call it a parent table now, but this table here has no foreign keys. So this one we can go ahead and seed without any issues. And once we seed this once, then we can start using that one ID to start adding tweets to, we can add follows to, we can add address to this user, and then we can start running queries. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to enter in some data into my users table. And let's put a couple users in there. Where was I? Here we are. I have my first user, Tyler T. Let's go ahead and put our instructor Tyler in the mix. All right, so let's go ahead and see if he's there. There's our first Tyler. Okay. And as you may have noticed already, which ID number is this? It's 6. Why is it giving us a 6? Any guesses? It's not super important, so just throw a guess. It's because the last time we left off with the 5 as the last ID. So the auto increment is going up. Now, sometimes it will start back at 1. And I had a conversation about this. It's sort of finicky. So that means it has like its own rule that it's not really telling anybody, right? It's not super important to know why. We just have to know that that's what it does sometimes. Okay, when we're aware of how it works, we can work around it. But our goal is not to fix MySQL today. Our goal is to just work with it. Okay, so this here, we're starting with the ID of 6. We've added Tyler. Let's add a couple more users in here, just so Tyler's not lonely. I'm going to add Vincent. Vincent, last name, it starts with the G. Guerrero. Okay. Vincent, we said 25. But he's actually aging really fast. So he's now 27. And so we'll go ahead and add him in. Okay, let's see our users and maybe just one more user just for fun. All right. Last user, we're going to say, we're going to make it Kyle. And Kyle's last name, I don't know. Kyle K. Okay, so Kyle, what is your last name? Is he here?
I don't think he's here, but isn't it Marry Me?
Oh yeah. She's got
I
the
will
awesome.
not marry you, Vincent. Jeez.
No, it's okay. Hopefully my girlfriend will one day.
Kyle, I don't know how Kyle is, but he's probably older than. Is he older than me? I don't know. 33 is a good year. All right. So Kyle, here we are. Let's put him in there, and now we have a users table that's nice and populated. So here we have now 3 users in our users table. They have the IDs of 6, 7, and 8. Looking good so far. I think we're all square. So all I've done now at this point is populate my users table. All right, let's look at my other tables that I need to populate. I have a tweets table as well. Okay, so I have a tweets table. Let's give some tweets to some of our users. Okay, so let's go into, let's look at our tweets. I believe I have a select all from tweets here somewhere. All right, here I have one. Select all from the tweets table. So let's see that here. And we have an empty tweet. All right, and we want to give some values into our tweets table. So we're going to start tweeting. We're going to say insert into our tweets the values. Well, we have our first ID. The only IDs we have are 6, 7, 8. And this is a tongue twister here. Sandy sold seashell by the seashore. Here we go. All right, so let's go ahead and throw this tweet into the lot. Tweeted. All right, now let's look at our tweets table. We have our ID of 4. This tweet has the ID of 4, and its user ID is 6, so we know that's Tyler. And Tyler tweeted Sandy sold seashells by the seashore, and that's when we know the tweet was created, right now. All right, let's add another tweet in there. I'm going to say, Vincent, do you have a tongue twister? Okay. How much wood can a woodchuck chuck? That's another one. Classic. All right. So now Vincent's going to tweet this tweet he never knew before. And if we look at our tweets, there we are. We have 2 tweets. One by user ID number 6, which is the ID of Tyler. And then we have a user ID of 7. He tweeted another tweet that says, how much wood can a woodchuck chuck? Okay. And now, do we want another tweet? Sure, why not? Okay. So we'll say 6, 7, 8. Actually, you know what? Vincent's a popular tweeter. He likes to say tongue twisters on Twitter. What is it? What's another tongue twister? Gosh, I only got 2 in my memory bank here. I'm not gonna get stuck here. All right.
Rubber baby buggy bumper.
Rubber baby bumper.
I put some in the chat as well.
Okay, rubber baby bumper. What'd you say? What was the third word? Rubber baby.
Rubber baby. I'm getting twisted. Rubber
Rubber band
baby.
rub-
God damn it. Rubber baby buggy bumper. There we go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we have a full list of 3 tweets on our website. One by user 6, which is Tyler, and 2 by user 7, which is Vincent. Okay, so Vincent's our tweeter in our app. Now, I want to create a join table that's going to show me all the tweets. I want a join table that's going to show me all the tweets by the user. So show me all the users that have tweets. Okay, so I want you guys' help with this one. Type in the chat a query statement that will let me select all the users that have tweets. Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. Here we go. That's a classic one. All right, so I'm waiting for you guys. Let's get a response. Okay, Oriole, I see your response. Inner join. Okay. We could add a where clause. I just want to see all of them. So let's look at this one. Select all from users, and I'm going to left join tweets on user ID where it equals a tweets.user ID, right? So whatever user ID, users.id, that's our users table, the ID of the user, and remember, Tyler was 6, Vincent was 7, and Kyle was 8. So find me a user ID that equals a tweets.user ID, right? Now we're on our tweets table below here. So we have the ID 677. So we're matching this 6 to this 6 and these 7s to this 7 from our users table. Okay, let's see what this gives us. Okay, it gave me a list of all my users, and it's showing all my users whether they have tweets or not. Okay, so I'm selecting all the columns from users, and I'm joining them where they have tweets. So we have 3 users, right? We have Tyler, here's 1. We have Vincent, and he has 2 rows. And then we have Kyle. Tyler has 1 tweet, so that's why he only appears once. He has that 1 tweet to his name. Sandy sold seashells by the seashore. Now Vincent, he tweeted twice, remember? We asked for that second tweet for Vincent. And that's why his name shows up twice, because for every tweet associated with Vincent's table or his ID, we're going to show that in our table. So this left join creates a new table that joins them together. Let me draw a little bit more, then I'm going to quiz to see how well we see and understand this. Okay, so here's my users table. User has ID, first name, last name, handle, age, and then created at, updated at. This is where my users table ends. This is where my tweets table begins. We have an ID, user ID, tweet, created at, updated at. So it's smushed them together now into one table, and that's why we're seeing 2 of them together. Okay, do we understand how we were able to join this? And this is just a simple join, right? A left join. So it's going to show us all the users, whether they have tweets or not. Okay, do we understand how I made this join work? All I'm doing is saying, read to me all the users that have tweets. And also, and even the users that don't have them. Okay, do we understand that this is what this line here does? Okay, looking good? Fantastic. So now that we have our 2 tables populated, we have our users table populated, and we have our tweets table populated. We have some tweets in our tweet table. We have some users in our user table. At this point, what we want to do now is start favoriting some tweets. Now some of our users want to favorite some tweets. How do we do that? We want a user to favorite a tweet. All right, let me just look at the comment before I continue. Shouldn't it be this so we don't get Kyle's data who does not have a tweet? Right. Okay, that can, you know what? It depends, Manjira. However you want your information. I want us to know the difference between a join and left join. So in this instance, we don't need, it depends on what we want, right? So if I didn't want to see the ones that didn't have tweets, all I'd have to do is remove this left here, and I just make it a join. Okay, fantastic. Okay, thank you. All right, I'm glad we have an understanding. All right, fantastic. Let's continue. So now we're back to just show me all the users where they have tweets or not. So that's what the left join is there for. But for all the users that do have tweets, show me them. I want to see their tweets. So here they are. Okay. Now, what we want to do is insert now into our favorites table. Okay, so we have our favorites table. And what does our favorites table require for us to fill in? It needs two things, right? It needs keys in order to be fulfilled, because created and updated at, that's going to automatically get filled in, as well as the faves ID, the primary key ID. What we need is a key from each in order to make a favorite. Okay, so we need an ID from a user, and we need an ID from a tweet in order to favorite. So let's look at, we know our users have our user IDs here. We have, let's take a look. Let's look at all our users again. I know that we know the numbers, but I just want us to be familiar with double checking. Okay, so here we have a user ID 6 for Tyler, 7 for Vincent, and 8 for Kyle. I want Kyle to favorite a tweet. Okay, so I need his ID. All right, so I'm going to take his ID 8. So I'm going to go then and save that somewhere. All right, I know that it's 8, so I'm just going to save that in my mind. And I'm going to look at all the tweets. So let's look at the tweets table. Select all from the tweets table. I'm going to run this. And this tweet has, there's 3 tweets. And they have 3 different IDs, 4, 5, and 6. And Kyle, he likes the third one. All right, so Kyle likes the third one. So that one has the ID of 6. So we need to now favorite a tweet. And in order to do that, we're going to insert into faves a favorite here, just like this. We're going to take his ID. We said his ID was 8. And the tweet ID he liked was 6. Rubber baby buggy bumper. Okay. So we insert here the value of his ID, the user ID of the person favoriting the tweet. And then we also insert the tweet ID. This is going to allow us to run a query to insert into our favorites table the user ID of the user that's favoriting the tweet and the tweet ID. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. Success. And now I want to see my tweets. Sorry. I want to see my, well, here's where I want to get us to connect to where we were yesterday when we left off. At this point, this has been successfully entered. We know we did it correctly because we had that success at the bottom. Select all from tweets. Select all from tweets. Sorry, no, that was not the one I was wanting. Insert into faves. That's when I had success with, right? So that's what I'm showing you. We entered into our favorites, the data that we needed. So now let's look at our favorites table. right? I'm going to select all from the favorites. Okay, select all from faves. And what do you expect that we would see if we run this? Just the ID values. Excellent. Just the ID values. And the more favorites that we see, the more numbers we're going to see this be populated with. And this isn't very descriptive, right? I mean, we can read through it, we can understand it, but we want a join table that shows us which users tweeted more clearly, or which users favorited which tweets more clearly. So this is where we're going to have a multi-join table. This is where we left off yesterday, and this is what we wanted to finish with. Okay, we don't just want to see the faves table with just the ID values of the user ID and the tweet ID. We want to see a bit more than this. So we're going to have to create a query that joins 3 tables together. Okay, we're going to have to join our users to our, we're going to have to join these 3 together here. Okay, so we're going to have to join these 3 in order to see a little bit more clearly instead of just seeing IDs for showing all in favorites. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. And in order to do that, I'm going to just continue on from yesterday into our multi-join line. Okay, our multi-join line. And I have a few here that I want to show you the difference between. One is specific and one is not specific. So I want a query that says, read to me all the tweets that have been favorited by every single person. I want to show all the tweets that have been favorited by everybody. How many tweets have been favorited at this point? Just one. Just one. So we should have a table that shows one tweet that's been favorited. So here we begin with select all. All right. This is going to give me all the columns. From users, I'm starting from this table, and I'm joining to users faves, right? So which table is faves again? It's the middle one. So I'm joining this middle to users. And I'm joining it where users ID equals faves user ID. Where this ID equals this ID. Okay, so we're joining on that common data point. And then we're saying also, now also join the tweets table to this. Join the tweets table and join it where faves tweet ID is equal to tweets ID. So that is where faves tweet ID is equal to tweet ID. Okay, so let's see what this gives us, and then we can look at it further. All right, so let's dissect what we have in front of us. We have now 3 tables connected, and it's showing me all the tweets that have been favorited and their users that have an association with that favorite. So we have the first here user table with 1 row, and it begins and ends here. All right, so here's our table 1. Here is our table 2. This is our favorites table, faves. Okay. Faves. Users. And then the third one, as you can already tell, this is the tweet table. So we have 3 tables connected. One table, 2 table, faves, and the third, users. So from users, we're selecting, and then we're joining faves onto users, and we're joining tweets onto this table that's already joined together. Why use left join for users and faves table? It's my preference right now. I can say join, and it will give me the same result. I am just showing everything, I guess, everything possible. Okay. Alrighty. So let's continue. We have now where we wanted to leave off yesterday, a multi-join query, multi-table join query. And let's see now the difference between a select that shows all the favorited by everybody and one specifically by Tyler. And I'm gonna have to change this ID here to 6. Okay. Did Tyler favorite any tweets yet? No, not yet. So we're going to have to make him favorite a tweet. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to say, Tyler, you need to favorite tweet 6. And so then we're going to go ahead and do that. All right. And so now when I run this query, let's go ahead and show this. This is the one that we had run previously. Now it shows me all the tweets favorited by everyone. Okay. All the tweets favorited by everyone. Now there's 2 tweets that have been favorited, but same tweet has been favorited by 2 people. Right? They both like the same tweet, Rubber Baby Buggy Bumper. Now I want to show something slightly different, a slight variation. I want to show, instead of all the tweets favorited by everyone, I want to show all the tweets favorited by only Tyler. And so this here is the query in order to run that. It's very similar. The only difference is this very last line where I add a where clause. The where clause is there to specify I only want this user ID's favorited tweets. Okay, so in this one here, what I wrote here as a comment is beware of just putting where ID equals 6, because at this point we have many IDs in different tables. You have an ID for users, ID for faves, IDs for tweets. So we need to specify which ID we're pulling from, and we're getting it from the users table here, right? So users.id equals 6. That means show me all the tweets that Tyler has favorited. And here we are. We have only Tyler showing in our multi-join table. All right. So now that we have completed yesterday's lesson, I want us to give me some feedback. Do we understand how a multi-join table works when we have a many-to-many relationship? I know this is a bit difficult conceptually because we've just done many things. We've reversed engineered, we've made some edits, we've talked about the meaning of some of our relationships, we've re-forward engineered, talked about what drop is. And in order to show this multi-join line, I had to seed some data into our database, which I had dropped all the data. Okay. And I like what I'm seeing as far as numbers because this is a lot better than where we left off. Okay. And as you can see, even if we had continued yesterday, we would have had quite a bit that we wanted to learn here with MySQL still. Okay, so one last time, I'm showing all the tweets favorited by everyone. There we go. Let's add one more favorite there. I'm gonna say our Kyle here is gonna favorite. He's gonna favorite tweet 5. Okay, so he'll go ahead and do that. And then we'll go ahead and see all the tweets again. I'll read all the favorited tweets again. And we have 3 favorited tweets. 2 are favorited by 2 different people. Well, this one here is favorited by 2 different people. Rubber Baby by Tile and Kyler. And Kyle also favorited this one as well. How much wood can a woodchuck chuck? Okay, now I know this is kind of a heavy subject, even though it was not that long. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and end the lecture, and let's look at our schedule, okay? At this point in the day, I said we were going to switch to Intro to Full Stack. What I'm going to do is move this to this afternoon. And I switched this to 2:30 because I wanted this to not be so much lecture time this morning. So what I'm going to do actually is say, make this lunch. You guys are good to go. And we will have to read ahead in order to get our full stack introduction. So this is a super key lecture that we have coming up. And in this one here, we're moving it back to 2 p.m. We don't need to move it back. In this one here, we're going to wrap it all together. We're going to take MySQL, we're going to take our Flask app, and we're going to smush them together. And our MySQL database is now going to have the ability, or our front end is going to be able to pull information from our MySQL database, or MySQL is going to be able to project information to our front. Okay, so now we're making the full stack connection. Remember at the beginning of this, we were talking about the different pieces. We're connecting the pieces this afternoon. Okay, so this is really exciting. We are about to become full stack engineers this afternoon, and we have completed our database lessons. All right, Manjira, I hear you say, is it not showing users with no faves, although you are using left join because it is followed by a join? Ah, good question. Okay. Let's take one last look here. In order to show all of it, you would need left join on both. And this is going to show the null values there. So it matters where you put your left join. I'm reading Manjiria's question in the comment here. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this out. I'm going to go back to the calendar to remind us real quick what we're up to today. Again, we're building full stack apps. So let's look at the end of day assignment that we're working toward today. We should be able to enter into our app information, add a user, save it to our database, and then be able to pull it up on our screen. This will allow us to show data, create data, and as you see here, there's a delete function and an edit functionality. We're now taking our CRUD function, our create, read, update, delete queries that we have been able to insert into the database and connect them to our application. Okay, this full stack application now has the ability to create data, create a user. We can delete the user, we can show the user's page with all the information or delete it. Or we can show all of our users, right? These are what we're doing with the queries. And this is why we've had these lessons, so that we can now bring in these queries to our full stack app. Okay, so let's do the assignments. Oh, let's do the reading for the modules and try to work our way up to this assignment. And by this afternoon, I want us to have a good handful of questions so that when we're well prepared. Okay, so let's go ahead and then break off, continue with our day, and get ready for this afternoon's lecture. Okay, it's not optional, it's very important. We're gonna get into the nitty-gritty here.